All right, yo, what's going on, guys? Sekapoko here, bringing you another Genshin Impact video for this. We're doing on my free-to-play account, doing the entire Abyss for floor 12. So you know, this account is a completely free-to-play account. I've never purchased anything, no Welcome Moons, nothing. I've never bought the Battle Pass, none of that stuff. And if you don't know about this account, I've had it since about 2 or 3 weeks after launch. I'm now about AR49. For this team, we're going to be using a lot of cool characters, and I'll go over some replacements we can do for the teams. Let's jump into it. Record. All right, so for this team, I'm going to be using 2 separate teams, and then before you get into, oh, you have 2 5-stars, there are replacements for this team. Chungyang and Bennett is a kind of key combination that is really, really good for the Abyss. So if you were looking to go with a good team that is very, very strong, Chung Benny is the way to go. Zhangling is a really good supporting character for this, for just helping you get shield breaks, and it really helps it. Now, the thing with Venti is you do not need Venti for the Spiral Abyss for the first floor. What you can use is Animo Traveler. I typically do that on my free-to-play account at times, and I do that on the Asia account as well. So if you're looking to have a replacement for Venti, which is 100% not necessary, you can of course use Animo Traveler, and it works just fine. You just have to plan your grouping a little bit better, try to get everything done a little bit better, because you have to position differently for the vortexes, but it's about the same. And as far as the replacements for Chungyang, there are replacements for Chungyang. You can use any cryo character you would like, but Chungyang is probably the easiest possible cryo character you can use. Kaya is another good option, but I'm going to be using him for my second team. Now, my second team, it's going to be Kaya main DPS, as well as having a Xinyan, who is basically just here as a Claymore user and a fire user to give me Pyro Resonance. If you did want to use somebody else for this and you did not want to use Xinyan, she is not necessary. Pyro Resonance is just providing me a little bit extra damage, and that is an okay way to go. If you did have like Zhongli or a Ningguang or something like that, and you wanted to use her instead, that would be a great option for this spot. And then, of course, if you do not have Chi-Chi, which most people do not have Chi-Chi, you can, of course, use Noelle. Now, I would definitely recommend staying away from Barbara. If you are thinking about Barbara, stay away from Barbara. Do not use Barbara. It is not the best way to go. Bennett makes this a lot easier as a healer DPS in the first phase, giving you a lot of DPS and a lot of reaction damage. So I'm going to be going over the fights, and we'll talk about them very quickly. So the main thing to do on the first part of Abyss on this account is what you want to do is focus on doing damage to as many characters as you can at the exact same time. Creating reaction damage on multiple enemies is the key. By grouping enemies together with Venti or potentially the Animo Traveler, you're going to have a lot better of a chance of killing all the enemies and making it so it's a lot easier for you to clear. Using 2 characters like both of Zhangling as well as Bennett in the same team makes things much easier for the clear and gets you a full range of motion so you can get large amounts of damage. Now, of course, if you do not have Bennett on your account, this is going to be a little bit more difficult by running a Chungyang Bennett on your strategy, because this particular team composition relies on the 2 characters working in tandem. Most people ask me what my gear sets are for the Chungyang Bennett strategy, and what I'm using right now for my Chungyang. My artifact set for Chungyang is going to be a Berserker and Wanderer's Troop set. The reason I'm using a Berserker and Wanderer's Troop set is because I don't have anything else. I literally just don't. I don't want to put anything else on him. He's a side main DPS, but he's just using Berserker and Wanderer's Troop. For my Bennett, he's going to be using a full Crimson Witch of the Flame set with a full Legendary set, and he's just going to be out there doing lots of damage. My Venti has a full Viridescent Virina set. It's only at plus 12 to plus 8 on here, and there's really, I think, 1 plus 16 piece in overall, so it doesn't really matter too much for the arts. You can do the same thing with Animo Traveler. You don't have to get it too leveled up, but it does level up a little bit more if you do that. For my Zhangling, I actually am running a Noblesse Oblige set as well as a Pyro set, but not all of the pieces are really leveled up. They're probably about purple as well as gold rarity. You're not really super high rarity, and they're just kind of okay. For my second team, the main thing that you have to worry about in the second team is you want to worry about using a main DPS character to nuke down individual targets. Okay. And what I'm doing here is I use my Kaya, who is using a full Gladiator set, which is going to be the 18% attack as well as 35% normal attack damage for a full Glad set with the cup I'm using for him is a physical damage cup. For His support characters, I'm just running Chi-Chi as a healer, but Noelle would work pretty much exactly the same with the maiden set and all defense rolls versus Chi-Chi's attack rolls. There's really no difference in the playstyle of how you would get the heals in, especially since you would get a lot of shields going along with it as well. And if you're using Ningguang as a replacement instead of using Jin Yang in here, that would help you with a little bit of extra shielding and getting extra damage off when you have Kaya out. Also, if you're using Jin Yang for this, the reason I'm using her is because she is a pyro character, and I can use the pyro pulsate in order to like break shields a little bit easier, and it makes things a lot smoother when I go through the run. I also am using an Amber here, and Amber's full set is going to be a Wanderer's Troop set, and it's not really well rolled, and I actually have a lot of purple pieces on this Amber set, so you can see even when I hit the really high hits here, I'm not actually I don't have a ton of gear on the Amber. For weapons across the board, on Xiangyang, I am using a prototype Animus. On Bennett, I am using a sacrificial sword, but I would be using an Iron Stink if I did have it. For Venti, I am using a stringless, and if I did use Animo Traveler, I would probably use a sacrificial sword or potentially a Favonius just to get a little bit extra energy recharge, or potentially even using the Iron Sting, whatever it may be. It doesn't really matter too much for him. You can use Blacklift, you can use any weapon you want for him. And if you were going to be using the last character in the team, of course, Zhangling is going to be a Dragon's Bane. The reason I'm using a Dragon's Bane because I wanted to go for Elemental Mastery and Elemental Reactions and go for Pyro damage all throughout the 9s and not worry too much about all the rest of the damage. For the other second team for weapons, I'm using Kaya with an Aquila Favonia. You can actually replace this weapon. You do not need the 5-star weapon. It does make things a little bit easier, but of course I'm missing 5-star characters, and you would on your account you probably have an additional 5-star character versus me having a weapon, but if you do have a weapon, you can use that weapon instead. If you want a replacement for that, it would be a prototype Rancor or the Black Sword, both of which would be insanely good options. The Black Sword would be much more better for survivability, so if you're using the Black Sword on Kaya, you would get a comparable amount of damage as well as a very, very good kit. For Amber, I am going to be using a Sharpshooter's Oath, and that's her main weapon right now at level 80. And the other two things is for Chi-Chi, I'm basically using a level 20 flute. I'm not even using like really good items on her. She is very, very under-leveled and under-geared for this content, and I'm just using whatever I had lying around. I'm not using a ton of really, really good gear for my healers because I really don't need too much because I'm going to be playing more aggressive and passive throughout the entire fights. For Jin Yang, she's using a level 20 sacrificial greatsword. So if you do have another weapon like a Favonius weapon, that would work fine. I'm just using it for the energy recharge so that I can get the ultimate up a little bit more often, and it doesn't really matter too much. The sacrificial greatsword is kind of nice because I get the extra procs on the E's every so often, which is kind of cool, but it is completely unnecessary and you don't need that. But if you have any questions... Hey, good job, good job, good job. First one done. All right. So for phase 1 of the second part, one of the things that's really helpful is having a Venti. I've tried this with Sucrose, and I have tried this with Animo Traveler. They both can work really well for grouping the characters. You just have to worry about the positioning. On the far left-hand side, kind of how I do the Venti initially here, and making so that you can get a clear line of shot so that you can actually get all the characters grouped in together. By grouping all the Hilichurls together, you're able to then burst them down very quickly with whatever type of DPS you want to use with any Animo character that you would like. Personally, Animo Traveler that I have tried is a little bit more difficult to get the aiming right on this tornado because of how you're gonna have to tee everything up and line everything up, but it does work. Venti is definitely the easiest of the three, so if you do have him, I would definitely recommend for this particular situation. Now, you're just going to be rotating around the entire side of the map while trying to continuously kill enemies, all the Hilichurls around the map. Don't worry too much about the Wapple Flowers. You're just going to make sure that you break the Wapple Flowers over and over again. And as you can see, I kind of hold off on doing large amounts of damage to the Wapple Flowers to the very end, so I can actually tee up my ultis. And what I did on the last phase as well as this one is I'm actually waiting till the very end to do large amounts of damage because I really want to make sure that I have my Elemental Bursts or Ultimates up before I go to the next phase. So by slowing down my DPS when we get to the Wapple Flowers, making sure that I don't overdo my damage, this is a much more better strategy for you guys clearing for 12-3 in Abyss. I would definitely recommend doing this if you are looking to do large amounts of damage to enemies while also early on and making so that you can keep the central pillar at max HP or very high, close to max HP by using Animo characters to really just move the Hilichurls around. One common trick that I end up doing a lot when I'm using on this phase is I will, of course, position myself to the opposite end when I'm using Venti, Animo Traveler, or whatever, of one of the actual the actual Hitatrolls. And when I do that, I make sure that the tornado that I'm using with Animal Traveler or the Q with Venti will go in the correct direction by making it so that all the enemies will be grouped there. That's a really big tip that I can definitely provide you on regarding this. And one of the things that you should also do is whenever you see a Wapple Flower start charging, attacking you, and start using its little like machine gun blow against you, is start using an ultimate ability and make sure you're positioned really far away so that when you start using your ultimate ability, it'll start hitting you with the ultimate ability, and then you can dodge immediately following that, or make sure you're positioned correctly after that. By timing your ultimate abilities or elemental burst abilities to the point where they don't, the Wapple Flowers don't do damage to you, is a really good thing. And of course, I can stack the Chungyung and Bennett fields here to decrease my cooldowns, give myself extra attack speed, and of course, get a little bit extra damage on targets.
Okay, so we gotta kill the dude in the middle here.
When the second wave starts, what you're wanting to do is, of course, position yourself on the first initial Cryo Slime. The Cryo Slime is, of course, going to have the Ice Claw that's going to come out of the ground and do large amounts of damage to you. By using a Jin Yang as well as an Amber here, I'm able to instantly break the shield, do large amounts of damage to it, and then I'm able to switch targets. Because I have the shield up from Jin Yang, I'm also able to take less damage from the Cryo Archers that are coming from the sides, and I can use Chi Chi or Noelle for healing when I need to switch in between. So both of those will work really well in this type of situation if you are looking to use either of those healers for this situation. So, on the second half of this, what you have to do is you have to make sure that you're killing the enemies and then stalling out for your abilities, as well as making sure everything's teed up before every single wave. By teeing up your abilities and making sure that you have everything up prior to the next wave, it makes it so it's a lot easier for you to then, of course, kill the enemies as they're coming out following this. Because you're then waiting for your damage, you're waiting for your abilities to come off cooldown. Now you can reposition prior to the next phase and then get everything teed up. Make sure you're killing the Hilichurls first, and then you can, of course, work on the middle churl, the very large one, last, and get that guy down. Now, what I do here is I really slow play this miniature at the very end, and I, of course, slow down my DPS, make sure that I take my time and get my positioning correct. By teeing up my positioning first and making sure I'm right in front of the left-hand side Abyss Mage, what'll happen is when the Abyss Mage spawns, I'm able to start damage on him immediately and then break his shield. Because I'm able to break his shield immediately, I can then knock him backwards, and I want to, of course, position myself in front of him between myself and the main pillar, and then just knock him backward continuously. By knocking him backward continuously with whatever main DPS I'm using, I'm able to then push him all the way to the edge so that whenever he does damage, he's not going to hit the central pillar. Now, the right-hand side one will, of course, start damage on you as well, so just make sure you're not positioning yourself too far away from that other one and constantly working out your dodges. You can see how I work on those there. And you're just doing large amounts of damage to the Cryo Abyss Mage and getting one down at a time. Then rotating your DPS onto the second one, but while also making sure that you dodge each of the individual abilities. And this is a great point at the end to, of course, stock up your ultimates or your elemental bursts and try to get everything ready for the next phase, because you will need everything going into the final phase. All right, going into phase 4, what I'm going to be doing here is just doing all my damage as quick as I possibly can, because I've teed up my ultimates on both targets. And I don't have to worry about any of the shields being broken, so I just start dumping everything I possibly can in a full nuke rotation. Right when I get both of the characters pretty low, I can start working about my energy and start getting energy for both characters so that I can make sure that I have ultimates up for a second rotation. Now, the main thing about this phase is that you're going to want to make sure that you get the Cryo one down as quick as possible, because the Ice Claw that comes out is going to be very deadly if you do not make sure that you get it down initially. And once you have the Cryo gunner down, then you're able to get through this a lot easier. By doing lots of damage to one target and then switching over to the other target, it leaves you open to do more damage and get large hits in while not having to worry about the enemies hitting you and being able to keep your HP high and your energy high. So then when the second wave comes out, you're able to just burst them down again, do large amounts of damage in the second rotation, and very, very easily. One of the things that I definitely have to do on this phase, because I do have to bring out the second, the Animo Boxer as well as the Electro Fatui, is I try to make my position myself in front of the Animo Animo character, and then make sure that I can use an ultimate ability right before the Animo Boxer starts his charge attack. Once he does his charge attack at the end, right at the end of the animation, that's when I pop my ultimates and make sure that I don't get hit by that stuff. Then by switching over to the correct characters, I can then burst down on and do a lot of hits in. Now the Animo Boxers on these phases, of course, are going to revive any character that you break a shield for, so you definitely want to focus down the Animo Boxer first if you can. And then after the Animo Boxer drops, then you're able to switch over to another character and then bring down the Electro for 2-8. Okay, the second half of a bit is really the most difficult entire game. What you're going to want to do on this first section here is kill the Animo Boxer or the Cryo Gunner for whatever you can with as much possible damage as you can bring to the table. You're going to want to make sure yourself is positioned in between, but I find it's easier to kill the Animo Boxer while just trying to continuously break the shield of the Cryo Gunner. By going for the Animo Boxer here first, I'm able to then stall out my rotation on the Cryo Gunner near the end, and of course get large amounts of damage on the Cryo Gunner once he's completely stalled out. And by killing the Animo Boxer and continuously just breaking the shield again on the Cryo Gunner, it makes it so the Cryo Gunner is more focused on reviving his teammate versus trying to do damage to me continuously. I find that to be a way easier strategy for doing this. It makes it life a lot more simple. But if you're going for a really big nuke rotation and you're going for higher star clears, you're going to need to kill the Cryo Gunner first and then switch over to the Animo Boxer a second, because that is going to be a very, very fast amount of damage. I do this typically on my pay-to-play account, and I burst down the Cryo Gunner as fast as I possibly can, and then switch over to the next part of the phase. As we get into the second part of the phase, one of the things that you is that there's 3 different Fatui that are on the field. Because of 3 different Fatui, you're going to want to go for the Electro one first. The reason you want to go for the Electro one first is not, even if you have cryo characters and your cryo character is your main DPS, you're going to want to stay heavily on the Electro one because of the lightning that the cryo one puts out. The little triangle lightning thing that the Electro guy puts out does a large amount of damage, and it definitely screws me over more often than not. So definitely go for that specifically first. Try to get some damage in, some headshots in with Amber if you can, but that becomes kind of difficult at times. So when the Cryo Gunner comes over to you at any time, make sure to just try to break his shield and just stay all your damage on the Electro Fatui. But if you can group them together and hit both of them at the same time, I'm able to do this at times during this fight, but I would recommend that would be a great strategy for you guys if you're looking to do damage to these guys. But once that's all done, just clean up the Geo Fatui at the very end, and you're good to go. But my name's Sekapoko. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did enjoy the video, of course, like, subscribe, all the fun stuff. And you guys have a great rest of your day. Peace. Let's go! Fucking Abyss done. Though that is free to play Abyss, all of it done. Obviously, can go higher on the stars if I get more gear and more stuff, but there's my free to play full Abyss clear for today's 12. Easy, easy, easy. Let's go. Full 12 done. Boom.